Hi everybody, it's April. I found the lost footage of me making the pocket letter for Victoria. I'll link a video down below showing the final review of the pocket letter before I mailed it out to her. This cover of the Santoro London page I'm kind of lining up so I can fit in the Mer Girl sentiment and the picture of the mermaid and make sure that it lines up inside the pocket letter sleeves. And if you've never made one of these, you're going to cut all of these pockets into 2.5 by 3.5. You're going to have a total of 9 different pocket pages or little inserts. And so you can just follow me here as I'm trimming and lining things up to see kind of how you would do that. They're just going to be all individual pages. And then you can do whatever you want. I decided to do a front page that was just one image and obviously divide it up, so they would fit into the sleeves. Now, take into account that when you're working with these pocket letter pages or the pocket letter sleeves, they're baseball card holders, so they're supposed to be 2.5 by 3.5. But as you can see, the 2.5 measurement of width is a little bit over that, so your pocket letter sleeve might be thinner or thicker depending on the brand. So you might want to just make a little template like I did to start with to make sure what yours are going to measure at. So that's what I'm doing here, and I don't know why I have such an issue cutting, but I did, and you'll see I'm going to have to trim it a few times to get the right measurement that I want. I hope this microphone is working and you're not hearing the background noise. I have a major industrial fan blowing, and if you can't hear that, I'm going to be really impressed with this Yeti microphone my husband bought me. So let me know in the comments below if the sound is better. I hope it is, and not as much static as using the microphone just that's standard on my PC. As I'm cutting down these backer papers where I'll be sliding the goodies in, I'm taking note of the crackle print on the paper. So if Victoria wanted to use these and make a pocket letter herself, she would have 9 cards to start with her base paper. So here you can see how I did it. I slid it, divided it into 3 and then went down and used my template to cut all the papers. Some of them I still had to adjust. I don't think all of these little inserts were the same size, to be honest with you, but they're supposed to be. So you'll see there, that's where I was talking about, looking at what side you're cutting on your paper. And especially if you do something like I did on the front where you're using one image, you really have to be mindful of where you're cutting, because in the end you want the total image to look coordinated. That paper was way too thin to make an envelope. I'm using my envelope punch board. This paper here is just a pack you can get at Michael's or Joann's, and it was thick enough to withstand the score marks on the paper. It didn't tear. So for whatever reason, I had problems reading my scoreboard, and I kept thinking it was 5.5 by 5.5. I think I even wrote that down somewhere, but it wasn't. It was 5 by 5. So I had cut my paper the wrong size to start with, and that's why it didn't fit. But if you have one of these punch boards, you probably know how to use it. I really haven't used it too much, so in the end I had to make like 4 or 5 before I looked. I was just so boggled why it wasn't working, and then I realized I had cut my paper the wrong size to start with. So just make note when you're doing it to double check your measurements. And I'm just making a little envelope to tuck a note into one of the sleeves for her. And if you look at pocket letter videos, you'll see a lot of people give you different ideas of what to put on your notes, especially if it's like traditional pocket letter pals. Here's a variety of things I wanted to show you could include as goodies. They're kind of scattered all over my desk, and at the end you'll see what I added, especially in the video I'm going to link below. You'll see the actual final completed project before I mailed it. This one actually isn't finished. So I found as much footage as I could. It's not completed in this one, but again, it is what it is, and you can get an idea of how to create one, I think, by this video. So hopefully it's helpful. I'm adding just little things on the outside of the page to get an idea if I like the placement, and I didn't really like the buttons on there, but I wanted to keep all the flowers, all the paper's so pretty. I just really wanted to keep a lot of it just as it was. But I added this brooch on the bottom. So sometimes, you can put, your goodies on the outside, the front page, as well as the goodies tucked behind. So that's kind of what I did there. These dragons, even if she wanted to remove these dragonflies and reuse them with a glue dot on a project, she could. So what I like to do when I do pocket letters, and I've only done a few, to be honest with you, this is probably like the 4th one I've ever made. I like to include goodies that are things that I used on the pocket letter. So kind of an idea of giving her samples of how I created it. So I'm adding some little embellishments, and you can see there I did have an envelope that I wound up getting the right measurement, and that's what's tucked in the top left corner. Also on the side of the page, a lot of people who collect pocket letters put them in 3-ring binders, but I didn't think Victoria would do that, so I wanted to cover up the 3 holes that are on the side and just, make it look a little bit neater. I used some satin ribbon on the bottom to cover the holes, and then I trimmed up some lace that I have to put that on top just for an added, pretty feminine look to go along with the paper line. Adding in some clear droplet samples because I'm going to add them to the papers. And again, wanting to just give her some samples of things I used on the pocket letter. So yeah, this is by Santoro London. And at the end, you're going to see also that I'm going to do some stamping on the pages. Above the word Mergirl, I'm going to stamp a picture of the shell and the starfish. That is what the mermaid is holding, I believe, in her hand. And then also just the Santoro London logo. So just going through and working, some people work, all together like straight one pocket at a time. Some people bounce back and forth, and that's kind of what I was doing. Just going with the flow. Now, I recorded all of this footage over a period of like 3 days. So, bear with me. It's kind of scattered, but you get the idea of how it came together. Now, I was going to seal up this one here with the little wood butterflies and stuff because it was falling out. But I didn't like that, so I took it off. And in the end, it was fine once you closed it up and put it in an envelope, they don't fall out. So I'm using some clear acetate to create my own little washi sampler. And that's really about it. I'm just going to add a variety of goodies in the background or in the back, And then I added that note into my envelope before. I almost forgot. So make sure you add your actual note if you make an envelope. And that's really about it, guys. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'm so happy I found this footage so Victoria could kind of see how I made it. I don't think she had ever had one or made one, so I thought it would be interesting to film while I was creating it so she could check it out. And if you guys have ever made a pocket letter, then I'm sure you're familiar with all of this. But for those who haven't, I thought you might find it interesting. Here's the stamps I was talking about. And that's really, I think, all the footage I have. After this one, I'm just going to give you an overview of the, where I'm at in the pocket letter. And then that was it. I'll link the other video below in case you're interested. But I thought it came out pretty good. Now be careful if you stamp on glossy paper like this. It can smear, so I had to be real gentle, just really stamp down and let up. And so here's an overview of what it looks like. I love how it came out. And thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a great day. Have a happy weekend. And let me know again about the sound quality if this is better. Thanks, guys. Bye.